like Miami. Miami, 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 Miami. It feels like Miami.
Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas. And with me today, reality check master, my homie for life, Tiffany Meeks. How we feeling? I'm ready for tomorrow. I always like wins. I like closeout wins at home. They're so much more fun than on the road. There's nothing like a home crowd. I love it. I'm excited. There's tons to get into today. Heat Hawks game 4 was about what I think a lot of people who weren't scared expected. A response from Miami. Kyle Lowry did not play. He will not play game 5. It was reported today. So Kyle will get that day of rest. Tons to get into, PJ, Bam. But of course, we have to stop with Oladipo. Chat says Tiff is muted. Tiff, speak? Yeah. Okay, I got it. There we go. I fixed it. That was my bad. Yeah, no. It's if there's a problem, it's typically going to be me. Let's just, let's keep that in mind. Thank you to everybody in the YouTube audience. We love it. We thank you for your support. Everybody live on Twitch. As they curse me for being bad at producing. Listen, it's a tough job hosting, producing, doing the social media. Listen, I wear a lot of hats. I'm at war with the NBA now. I fucking see you, Adam Silver and Sasha, whatever the fuck your name is. Don't think I don't know you. I'm on to y'all. Stay tuned for news on that. Thank you to our audience. None of this is possible without you, and I say this all the time. You guys have helped us realize the dream to do this nonsense all day and make money for it. So we love you guys. Tiff.
Yes.
We got to start with Oladipo. Big story of the day. Deserved. Kyle was out. And I think a lot of us had questions as to if he was going to play. I guess in hindsight, it was a dumb question. Although he didn't come in until a little later than I expected. And I think a lot of that is Caleb doesn't look the same.
Right.
And that just is like, okay, well, we need to go a little deeper in the bag.
Right. And the thing about it is, if I remember correctly, it's an Achilles, right, for Caleb? Is that what
sore
it is?
Achilles.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to have pain for the rest of the season. So that's just,
great.
I mean, they don't heal without rest. There's no rest right now.
And Lord knows they've tried.
Between, it's nice and all. Exactly. So I think, what we're probably going to see, we might see going throughout when, we need the stout defense. It is going to be a little bit of Caleb and probably a little bit of Vic. And it'll probably just depend on if Caleb can even get any lift because his shot looks awkward. His defense was okay, but his defense isn't as good as it normally is. And that's just because of probably him trying to get a little lift off of his legs, and he can't because of the Achilles. But I thought Vic, it's funny because I also thought the Vic thing was more contingent on what Duncan was going to give us. And then Duncan had the early foul trouble. And then I think, what did we do? We went from Duncan, then we went to Caleb, and then we didn't really get any offensive production from any one of those guys. Vic comes in, and the funniest thing is, I was saying to you, he took really quick bad shots in that first 2.5 minutes of play. I kind of felt like he was just like, I'm out here for maybe 4 minutes. I got to get mine real quick. And then once he realized he was going to get some extended play, you saw him start to calm down on the offensive end. Once he started to calm down, he started moving the ball around. He started playmaking. And whenever he's used, we also have to expect there will be some rust until he kind of does get a continuous amount of play, because you're not going to just come in from not playing at all and all of a sudden give us 20. But the thing that he can do is He can hold steady on defense, and he can help play make on offense. And honestly, that's what they needed from him last night.
I think without Kyle, it's a little too much Gabe Vincent running pick and rolls. Not that I don't think Gabe can do it, because I think
Hmm.
he's shown you that he's more than capable. But I think when your diet is a little too much of it, I think your offense suffers a bit. I thought Oladipo in particular was really good with those small lineups with Tucker at center,
Hmm.
especially when Jimmy couldn't play. And that was pretty big, I think, as well. He juiced their defense a little bit.
Right.
And then when Bam came in for Tucker, I thought that looked fine. He like you just said, just too rushed, way too many step backs for my taste. I thought he played well, considering, I think the shot selection has to get kind of sorted out. But I know that Twitter is on a victory lap today, and I think it's more causation, not, it's not correlation and causation, right? It's like they were doing that anyway, and he helped them settle a little bit.
Hmm.
They really tried to stagger him and Jimmy. They, as you said, they occupy the same spots on the floor. And that's going to be something to look for kind of as the series goes, because when Oladipo's not on
Right.
ball, he's just basically cutting baseline and then leaking out the 3-point line. And that's just a little untenable if you're the Heat. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. I think I want to see him play a little bit more with Jimmy when
Hmm.
Bam's not on the court. So if they run those smaller lineups and they have like Jimmy, Dipo, Tucker,
Hmm.
Caleb, plus X guard, whether that be Tyler or Duncan or Max or whoever, I think that's a little interesting, because now you can use Jimmy as a screener and have PJ just play his PJ role. So that
Right.
that to me is something that I want to see them experiment with. But it's not. Shout out to Dipo, as you said, came in under circumstances that aren't easy. I'm sure that if Kyle didn't get hurt, he wasn't going to play, and I'm sure that these guys are told, hey, I don't envision a lot for you this series. Just keep that in mind. I'm sure that they're transparent,
Right.
especially the coaching staffs and all that. So, good on him. Is there,
Right.
is there anything that you think that was there anything particularly interesting about his minutes that you go, okay, like I think this is a building block for an extended role, or do you just think
Hmm.
that okay, you're just a spot filter while Kyle's out?
I think because it's so, we're in the postseason, and of course he came back so late. I think for him, there will be minutes going forward, but those minutes are going to be uh, matchup dependent or something of that nature. For instance, like this series, you could say, yeah, it's matchup dependent because at any moment you want to be able to throw all these bodies at Trey. You want to be, you just want him to look up and just be frustrated each and every time he starts to dribble. So, will Vic get minutes tomorrow? I honestly think he is because there's no Lowry.
Yeah, for sure tomorrow.
You don't know, huh?
Yeah, for sure tomorrow.
Right. So you don't know what you get from Duncan. You don't know what you get from Max. Although they looked good on the court together yesterday. That lineup that was, I think it was PJ, Vic, Max, Jimmy. I'm missing someone. Not sure if it was. Might have been
Caleb,
Gabe
Caleb or
or
Gabe?
Caleb. It was either Caleb or Gabe. But that five where PJ was the small ball center, they looked really good. Moving up and down the court, the defense was spry, but it's going to be matchup dependent. Like I know for a fact, like will Vic get up 20 shots in a game? No, but what Vic could do in the next series, if you're looking forward, he's an extra body that you can throw at Maxi because we know Maxi likes to go coast to coast. He's not going to slow down. He wants to run. He wants to get out, and he likes to move. So as many healthy bodies as you can have to throw at him, you're already ahead of the game.
I think and I don't want to like look too far ahead, but I think the Max thing is going to be interesting because, you know, the more you have Gabe out there, it's a really capable defender, but I think you also let him off the hook defensively a little bit, as opposed to a guy like Dipo or Tyler who's
Mhm.
always moving.
Mhm.
So maybe play less Gabe and then play more Dipo in that series because Philly's defense is also bad. and you can run him more, but not to look too much
Not
ahead.
so
As
too far.
yeah,
Right.
as Alf says, Max greater than Maxi. And listen,
I believe it. I believe it.
3-1 Doc, man. Don't count out the Raptors. 3-1 Doc is logged in.
Oh, oh,
So
just so y'all know, I was the lone voter for Max Strus, most
yes,
improved player. I was the lone voter, just so
the
y'all know.
results are in for most improved player this year in the NBA was given to John Morant, and Max Strus received 1/3 place votes. And it's good to know that Tiff really holding it down in the national media,
Yep.
as we talked about. Not a lot of people are talking about the Heat, and Tiff, you really sticking your neck out there. That's very brave.
hmm
As
hmm
a woman of color, really putting yourself out there, going against the grain. You're a pioneer above all. So we and the audience, thank you very much.
Yes.
So Tiff,
Yes.
I love doing self-serious shit like that. In 22 minutes with PJ Tucker at center, that means PJ
hmm
on, no Bam, no Deadman. The Heat are a plus 63 net rating with a 137 offensive rating and a 74 defensive rating. Absolutely dominant.
That's
Absolutely
like
dominant.
that's ridiculous. PJ's like what, 40? Like that's ridiculous. No, I listen, I kid, but I love me some PJ. But what he's doing, like we do have to talk about this, G.
Yeah.
What he's doing when he is up top and he is pressing Trey Young. Like this is ridiculous. The fact that PJ is in his stance and he is moving his feet and he is just basically funneling him to the next defender. And it's like he's doing it repeatedly over and over and over. And then getting in the post on offense. Like he is literally he's the unsung hero really of this team.
I love what Alf just said. I want to see that lineup when Embiid sits. Again, not to look too far ahead, but
hmm
any DeAndre Jordan minutes.
We'll take it.
You know what I mean? If you fat ass Harden, you could switch, and that's good against a team like them or the Raptors, because that is certainly tenable against Toronto as well. We work on in both series. You're just given more flexibility to switch. Deadman this series, 38 minutes, minus 6.85 net rating, 117, almost 119, 118 defensive rating. Not good. The Deadman minutes
No.
have not been good, and they've tried. And I think that as the series has kind of evolved, they've gone to that less and less,
hmm
which we talked about on this pod. We said, listen, if the Deadman minutes get untenable, PJ at the 5 is the next option, because
Right.
the way Yurt and Deadman defend the Hawks' pet actions are the same. You drop them or you try to play them high, you blitz, you do whatever. But at the end of the day, when you get a big and drop, against a guy like Trey Young, who loves to pull up and who has a quick trigger, and if a guy gets behind a screen, you're done. You're letting him get comfortable. And when you switch, you don't allow that. They haven't been able to match up Hunt the way you want. And I think oftentimes, Tiff, and that's why that one Maxi game against Tyler doesn't worry me too much. It's harder for guards to do it to guards. It becomes a problem when it's a guy like LeBron James or Kawhi, who are big wings and are really good at hunting small matchups, because when the bigger help behind them comes, they can take contact and they can finish through contact, and they have pull-up jumpers. Guys like Trey, if you pick on Tyler and you send big help, as they've done with PJ is kind of splitting the difference between the wing shooter and Trey. That's just a lot of arm and help, and you just don't have the size. So, I think that's been interesting. I think I want to the Maxi thing and those small guards hunting don't worry me. Even Kemba tried in the bubble. It just wasn't. We saw it, Tiff. It's just not so easy to hunt guards unless you're a power wing.
Right.
You know?
Right. And it's funny because if you're looking at what we're doing now with this series, like we can all be honest and admit, like Tyler's not having a great series.
Strangely.
Which is it's weird. It's very weird. But before this, he was holding his own and he wasn't being being able to get as hunted as usual. He's been holding his own. You saw in the first couple of games, what did they do? Every time Trey got the ball, he tried to get Max. He literally wanted to, and the Heat welcomed it. They want, okay, go ahead. You want to try to hunt Max? Let's see what happens. And it so far through, through these 4 games, it just has not worked out well in their favor. Trying, you know, of course, when when Max has like that rangy forward, of course they're going to get the shot off over the top of him. They're taller, but he's making everybody's job a little bit harder. But all of our players are they're fighting through the screens. They're not seeming to get caught up as much. They're not going under. So as much as they're attacking us, we're literally like basically facing their attack with our own attack defensively.
Yeah. Um, I'm confused as to why he's not good. I He gets the looks he wants. Um, I swear to God, man, I have to fix this. I just need a new camera. Nobody believes me. This is an expensive camera. It's a DSLR. It's just not clean. Listen, I'm not gonna talk about my production woes on air. Officer Claxton's 0-7 from the free throw line. Goddamn. So glad they don't have a guy like that. That you don't have a guy that can just get picked on like that. I think Tyler will be fine going forward. I think the Sixer series, anytime you can get a guy and drop against him, I think that's going to help him. Mm-hmm. I think, Tiff, the kind of lack of dribble handoffs is also a thing. It's kind of been a weird development for them that they've just totally gone away from it. And I thought against the Hawks, you can do some of that. Maybe they just wanted to pressure them and kind of execution test the Hawks, right, going downhill and say, all right, let's see where your help comes from. Let's see if you can stay in front of us, which they haven't. So there's not really been a need, except for I think that maybe game 3. They could have done that a little more. But I wouldn't be surprised if they run some DHO against Philly. If they get Philly, I don't think they can do that against the Raptors or Boston unless they get Tice or Horford in the play. So that's one thing I'd look for. I want to get. I don't. There's not too much to say on Tyler. I don't think, unless you wanted to add anything else. I just think it's been a rough shooting series, and
he just needs to see a couple go in. That's what I think. He needs to get himself off the dribble, get into his mid range, and just get a couple of shots going in.
So they've put Herder on him, and Herder has some size to bother him, and they've been pretty concerned with him. And I think that him getting the Herder assignment, I think that's been part of it. And I think when he gets to push is when he's looked good. And he's the kind of guy, Tiff, that when he gets going, he needs to have the ball like a couple times in a row down the floor to get himself going. And it's not been that kind of series. And when they have been rolling, it's been other guys.
I was going to say, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, while you want to get him going, you do not want to dare disrupt the flow. And if other guys are going, you have to. If other guys are going, he has to get in where he could fit in on the court at that point. Which means he may have to just be the person distributing the ball. You got to crash the boards. You got to just do those little things until the offense finds you. Because, as we keep saying, there's moments where Jimmy has it rolling for a full 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, here's PJ with like a quick 6 points. And then, here's Max with a 3. And then here's someone else. So the offense is finding a lot of players. It's just, he's just not able to get into the flow. But it's, here's the thing. They're still winning without him being able to get into the flow.
Tiff.
So yes.
No, go ahead. Finish. I thought you were done.
No. So so right now, I'm not going to worry about it. The worries come when we're next series and we're game 3 and he's struggling. That's when you start to wonder what's really going on. But right now, I think honestly, they got to just do what's working and just end this series tomorrow.
Their offense has been good this series, and it's tough because a lot of that is buoyed by that game 1. And I think last night was kind of weird because their half court offense was at an 86 offensive rating, which is just bad. And Miami held Atlanta to an 80. This is just fucking crazy that they have just neutered. Atlanta had the best half court offense in the league this year.
Yeah.
In the whole league, Atlanta had the best half court offense. And I know that Capella's not been really in the series, and when he played, he just obviously He's just not 100%, and Collins has not been 100%. It's totally understandable, and I understand that teams need all their moving parts, but I mean, this is consistent. I mean, the Heat have had better half-court offense in this series in Game 2 in particular than the Hawks have had offense in transition, right? And I think the litmus test for Atlanta is how much can they get in transition to juice anything that they do, because the one consistent thing in the series stuff has been Atlanta cannot score in the half court, because there have been games that Miami can. Atlanta has pretty consistently not been able to.
Right.
And the one game that they won is when they had a positive in transition. Their transition offense was good. And then last night, again, not good.
Right.
Not
It's
good.
also,
Go ahead.
you know, there were stretches where the Heat, like I said, they were putting up back-to-back buckets. So, you know, for the most part, it's hard to run when you got to take the ball out of the net.
And Miami didn't turn the ball over yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They had like,
So you
what,
didn't
5
get
turnovers in any
Right,
minutes that
so-
mattered? Yeah.
No points off turnovers, and you're not getting any fast break points. So that's it right there.
So I use Cleaning the Glass, a lot of really cool game stuff. Shout out to Ben Folk and his team for putting this page together. They have like box scores for like different things, for like game. Okay, like this is what this team did in transition, or this in this specific instance. So under the transition, they have points off steals, possessions and points off steals. And under Atlanta, it's just blank. I've never seen that before. It's just like boxes don't have anything. It's just nothing. Miami has their stuff, you know what I mean? 62.5%, blah, blah, blah. And Atlanta's just a big old nothing. So funny that Tiff, Miami has the best net rating in the first round of the playoffs. They are outscoring the Hawks by 14.5 points per 100 possessions. That leads the league. Milwaukee's number 2, followed by Golden State at number 3. Miami's offense has been top 5, considering Atlanta's defense sucks, but we have a lot of questions about Miami's offense. And Miami's had the second best defense. Milwaukee has had the best, but that's not hard against DeFrozen and co. So, and Milwaukee's really good. But it just goes to show you that Tiff, everybody was freaking out about this one loss.
I wasn't freaking out. I was just mad about it. Like, I wanted it to just be over. Like, I just wanted to be done with it. Like, oh, let's just end this. But it's a game, you know, and you win some, you lose some. I think for me, it's more important how they responded to the loss. That's where you can see how gutsy this team is. Like, they lost, and honestly, they lost a game they should have won. But then they came back and they basically like dog walked Trae Young and company right out of State Farm Arena.
Alpha's saying there's a Raising Cane's on South Beach. Gee, let's talk about the real issues. Those white people in those condos aren't going to be happy about that. Or they already complained. Do you know where that is? I don't even know. It's news to me.
Yeah.
Pickle fries.
Oh
Jimmy Butler, I believe, is also the leading scorer in the playoffs. He's good, right? Like these things that we complain about. And again, this is Atlanta. They're a 9 seed for a reason. And, Phoenix is playing a 9 seed, and, shit don't look so good over there. You know what I mean? Like, and Chris Paul, what did Chris Paul go like 2 for 8 or some shit like that yesterday or whatever? Had like a bad game. I think people, Tiff, I've said this so much. I've said even white people like fried chicken. I've said this a lot, Tiff, and I think Heat fans in particular are guilty of this because Dwayne Wade was here for the majority of fans' lives this generation, and he never had a bad game. When Dwayne was a star, Tiff, Dwayne never had a bad game, and I think fans are just got used to that. And LeBron never had a bad game when he was here, right? LeBron and Dwayne, the only bad games LeBron had, we talk about to this day because Jake would have posted up JJ Barea. Like that's how fucking etched in our mind his only bad games were. And even when those guys were bad, they'd have 25, 8, and 5. You know what I mean? With the steal. And Jimmy's not that caliber of player. And I think for a lot of people, it's just like triggering to them when it's like, well, he looks bad. And it's like an indictment on him. And it's like, I think most players most good players look like that. Like Devin Booker has games that he looks like that.
Right.
Chris Paul has games. We just saw it in a playoff game. Chris Paul's great. Everybody here would take Chris Paul in a second. You know what I mean?
Kevin Durant just had 3.
Joel Embiid had 1. James Harden hasn't had a good game
Right.
since the Obama administration. Feels like. You know what I mean? Like, it's not so cut and dry. When a guy has 45 one night, he has 22 the next night, and really just 2 bad possessions, everyone flips out, and it's like, come on, guys, let's chill out. It's not much here. Let's have some perspective, and I think that gets lost a lot in like the daily minutia.
Well, I also think that and we talk about this all the time. Like, you also have to remember Jimmy's a guy who deals with like a litany of injuries all the time. And most of the time he tries to play through whatever's happening to him. But like right now in this moment, he's looking spry. He's looking good. He is healthy. His jumper's not flat. He's moving on the court. He's looking good. So, regardless of whatever, we need to just appreciate what he's doing right now and move it on. Like, how many teams right now would take this healthy Jimmy Butler?
Bro, Tiff, this is another, and everybody knows me. I love small anecdotal shit that doesn't mean anything. I went to a game. It's funny. I went to a He-Hawks game with Christian Hernandez, and I just watched Jimmy Butler go to the free throw line like 4 straight possessions. And I turned and I looked at him and I was like, holy shit, we haven't had that in a decade.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, we took that. We saw Jimmy, a worse version of Jimmy in the Sixers series. We were like, yeah, man, I really want that shit. Do I care that I have to max him over 30? Right. Who cares? We didn't give a shit. We took it. And we didn't even think he'd be this good. You know what I mean? We didn't think he'd have 3 straight career years.
Right.
We didn't even know that part. So, I mean, the fact that fans find ways to complain and stuff like that and don't let players work through rough stretches, I think it's not great. I think it probably makes your sports watch. And I'm not here to fucking legislate how anybody experiences sports, but it's like, have a little faith in guys to figure things out, especially when we know them to be great.
Right. Well, it's also like, let's be realistic. Do you think the Lakers would have used him this year?
Bro, Lakers would have used. Let's go through the Heat rotation.
Exactly.
How many of those players would the Lakers have used? Okay, for sure Jimmy Butler, Max starts for them, Bam, for sure, PJ,
exactly.
Kill for PJ. They're starting Ariza. Gabe is starting. I'm telling you, there would be a movement in LA that Gabe Vincent should start over Westbrook. 100% guaranteed.
Oh, of course.
Tyler Herro?
We'd be saying the same thing. He should start over Westbrook.
Herro? Duh. Oladipo? Yeah.
Yes.
I think he would absolutely play. Caleb? Kidding me?
Yeah.
Duncan? Yeah. They need some shooting.
Exactly.
Dedmon? Might be the starting center. For all I know. All those dudes, by the way, better than Taylor Horton-Tucker.
Yeah.
That's everybody who played in Game 4. Lakers, a lot of teams would take any of these dudes. They're so deep.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Jimmy's a lot of things, but you'd rather have him than play against him.
Yeah. I mean, kidding me? He has his warts, but he's truly a special player. And I think anybody who can dominate with the ball in their hand the way that he does, and as we've seen him win them playoff series and keep them in one of the most improbable finals series I've ever seen, that matters,
Mm-hmm.
And Tiff, I think that's a good transition to kind of, I think, Eric Spoelstra's final adjustment this series, because we said this before the show, like, this series feels tactically over.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a ton of cards for either team to play, especially Atlanta, because Miami's operating from a position of power, and Atlanta has to react. I mean, Miami's like, okay, we're just going to ramp up the shit we do normally. We're going to switch these things. We're going to send a ton of help from stuff we talked about all the time. And
Right.
yeah, Atlanta has not, I think the one big adjustment is kind of PJ or whoever on the wing guy is kind of crawling over to Trey to really, really neuter any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But, they've played, both teams have played their cards. I thought the last thing that Spo did last game and to help Jimmy get going, and this is Spo's move going back to the Big 3 days. Bam setting screens higher up, Bam setting screens kind of near the logo, and letting Jimmy operate with a little bit of a head of steam, kind of be able to take contact from guys, especially because guys are going under his screens. So if you let him kind of pick up speed, he's able to kind of get by guys a little better and force a rotation. I thought that was a really interesting move by Spo and kind of going back to his roots there. I thought it worked. I think clearly, Jimmy 12 for 21, 36 points, 10 rebounds, 11 for 12 from the free throw line, was able to get in the paint because I thought in that game 3, Miami was just not able to get downhill. And if you space enough with your good shooters and you kind of give Jimmy a head of steam going into the paint, Bam setting those screens really high up, which lifts, Bam is a guy who loves to short roll, which I thought was one of the things that helped him get going as well. Because he's a guy that his passes kind of feed the rest of his game when he's gets to be point Bam. I thought those were the adjustments that had to be made, and it paid dividends.
Yeah, and realistically, what is there left for Spo to throw out there? I mean, I don't think
against the Hawks is not much. I mean,
no.
The PJ move at center, was an obvious one that we had discussed. I think they can theoretically, if there was going to be a scoring issue, they could go more 3 guards, but I don't really know how much more of that you can really do. There's not much until a team makes them adjust. If there's a specific problem that they're okay, because really Atlanta's really not presented any issues. The Collins thing in game 3, Collins did a good job of early sealing and scoring on guys, smaller guys off switches. That just wasn't the case yesterday. And if that was going to continue to be the case, you have to rethink a couple things. They've played Bam and drop at times, which I thought was kind of weird. Capella, they played a little bit of drop when Capella was screening, and then I think they realized, well, he's not really a threat right now, and they just said, fuck it, we're just going to go back to what we do. And the Heat, I think, won the offensive rebounding battle, which I think is really funny, all things considered.
It's not – I think schematically there isn't anything left for them to do. They need to just go out and just play their game. When they play their game, it's not many people who can get them off of it. I mean, what realistically did they do that was special in the last game? Honestly.
Miami?
They just they did what they do. They just ratcheted up a notch.
Oh, Jimmy though. That was special. Him hit an individual performance.
But I mean overall as a team, not just putting Jimmy to the side, because Jimmy's doing Jimmy things right now. Yeah. But just overall, they literally just played together. They passed the ball. They did all the things that we know they can do, but they went out with urgency. They went out to say, okay, we need to win this and we're going to win this tonight. Let's be realistic. The Hawks look like Waffle House at 2:00 in the morning. It was just all fucked up in there. That's just what they look like. So I don't think Spo needs to go into his book of spells and sprinkle some shit. I think he needs to just go in the locker room and just say, end it.
Waffle looks fucked up like Waffle House at 2 in the morning. I'm sorry, that was really funny. I was talking to a friend how in Miami it's more of Colombian food trucks and shit. We don't really have Waffle Houses.
Right.
You go at 3 a.m. you go to Los Verdes and everybody in that fucking place is fucked up. That's dangerous. I'm telling you, cops can pull up to a Los Verdes and they can bust a lot of people for DUI. I'm telling you. Careful out there, people. Careful. Alf telling you to drink going into work. It's fucking funny. Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. You're totally right. I mean, Nikias wrote about it today too. Just the special thing that the Heat are doing is what they're doing to Trae Young, a special pick and roll player, and they've just absolutely neutered him, whether that be, Bam in a switch or the way that they play drop. And if Bogdanovich isn't hitting every 3 that they have, they really don't have answers. And that was, I think, the other big thing is Spo doesn't overreact to things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they're not going to they're not going to abandon their principles because a guy went off a couple times. You know, for
Right.
better or for worse, I think in the past fans have been upset with Spo for being, and they call it stubborn. You know, I think it's more of him not overreacting. And again, sometimes, listen, I think in the Mavs series, the Chalmers thing over Bibby probably cost them that series. But at the end of the day, if LeBron plays better, that doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, I think, you know, there's been times that he's just been not a great coach. And not,
Well,
not,
he's
not
also-
like he's been out-coached, but
He's human.
yeah.
Like he's gonna, and that's the thing that we have to like all realize. Like he's gonna make mistakes. Because for me, I literally was sitting there looking at the time, and I was like, "All right, this is a great time to bring Vic in." You know, and a minute would pass, and I'm like, "All right, this is a great time to break that glass." You know, and no, he didn't do it when I wanted him to do it, but he knew when he needed to do it, and apparently he did it at the right time because it worked out in our favor.
I think Miami is really ballsy for really just saying, especially to Trey, they're sending so many guys into the paint as soon as the screen comes. And they're like, you're not going to lob this. And you specifically are not going to beat us with a pull-up or a little, you know, shake and bake step back.
Right.
That's not how you're going to do this.
Right.
And we are going to make Bogdanovich and these other guys beat us. And Miami trusts their guys in rotation. And I've said this before. I think the Heat are one of the Heat rotate from a position of strength. They fly the fuck around. These guys are smart. PJ's not the fastest dude in the world, but he sees how the play is going to develop, much like Kyle, much like Jimmy, and they're at the fucking spot exactly when they need to be, and that's why they can hedge the way they do, kind of getting in the paint, fucking shit up. And Trey's talked about it. Nikias wrote an article today for Basketball News. Shout out to Nikias. And he kind of, you know, got some quotes from Trey saying, like, listen, when I have the ball, they have 5 guys in the paint. You know, if you're watching the game, you'll see that they have 5 guys in the paint when I have the ball. Young said, they're doing a great job showing help and not letting me get into the paint. If I try and drive by somebody, they're sending a double or forcing me to kick it out to my teammates. And they rotate well. They make those passes difficult. He's been a turnover machine because I'm sure that that's in his head as well. And that's not an easy guy to contain. And obviously, you know, Atlanta's not the best defensive team in the world, but that's a fucking potent offense that they absolutely fucking neutered.
I feel like I think it was Nikias, yeah, that posted the video, and it basically showed every single person that guarded Trae Young within one possession. And it was just like everywhere he tried to turn, a defender just came from nowhere.
Tiff, you know what much buy-in that takes? You've played the game. That takes so much buy-in from a lot of guys who are vets. Who fucking and young guys, because it's like a mix of young guys. They don't have a lot of like medium players. It's either like grizzled vets or like Teehee, I'm new here. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what it is.
Right.
Dudes that don't have a say.
Well, to even, you know, for us to even but you think about it, we like roasted. Look at how we were literally roasting Max, Duncan, Tyler at the beginning of the season about their defense. Like we were roasting them. And at some point they all bought in, and you could see the extra work that they put in. You can see the extra hours, and you know, I'm sure they've sat down with Jimmy and Kyle and other people on the staff to figure out how to be in the best position possible on defense. Like you don't need to be the greatest of athletes, but you need to know where and when.
I think Tyler, by the way, has been really good in rotation. I think he's made the correct reads on when to close out, seeing plays develop. I'm proud of him for that because I know at times, you know, especially his off-ball defense has really been substandard. And I think that has been one area that he's improved on a lot. And I think this series in particular. Now, his on-ball defense is a problem. He's dying on screens. It's just who he is. Hopefully he can continue to improve. But I just want to shout out kind of what he's doing because there are a lot of plays that he has to make a rotation for the defense to work. And he's at the spot when he needs to be there. And that's huge. Shout out to Ryan Sproverio for the gifting the tier 1 subs. We don't get much on the pod here. Y'all say him for Hangover Time, as you should. That's the fun show, but we appreciate the love here as well. Tiff, let's get into a couple of things before we get out of here. Two guys in particular. We'll close with Bam. Duncan was just bad last game. As I'm a big Duncan guy, I thought in game 2, and I watched every Duncan possession of that game. Jay Jock says, you're going to bring up Denzel at all? Tune into Hangover Time tomorrow. We got a little something, okay? I'm not gonna take the A team's thunder here. You know, we're talking X's and O's. So game 2 never got the ball. Didn't need it.
Right.
You know, they didn't run anything for him. He just kind of floated around, and then obviously with the foul trouble, they went Caleb because it makes sense. If you're going to downsize, you know, you need the bigger, more versatile defender. Then game 3, just bad. I mean, he hit a couple, but not, you know, whatever.
Right.
And then yesterday, I thought he was just unplayable, which is sad because, you know, he makes a fuck ton of money, and that's an issue. But I don't think we've seen the last of him in the playoffs. I think he'll bounce back.
No.
That was just I think more than anything, Tiff, it was defensively, he was a disaster.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've been harping on this all season, and you guys laugh because, you know, they're the Autobots. You know, they need everyone to function in their job to basically stack and become superhuman. Everybody's going to get their opportunity for this team. No, we haven't seen the last of Duncan.
Tiff, already everyone's had an opportunity. Every rotation player has played.
Right. But I remember I've been saying that all season, and what were people yelling at me on the timeline, in chats? Spo has his 9-man rotation. Nobody's getting in that rotation. And what did Spo say? Oh, the rotation is everyone, which it is.
It's a new league.
Yes, you need everyone to be ready because everyone's going to get a chance to shoot. And that's the thing when it comes to shooters. They're all going to they're all playing. There's no way he's not going to at least give Duncan, Max, and Tyler minutes. You might not get a lot of minutes, but you're going to get out there. Yeah, you get out there, you brick a couple of shots, you get 2 quick fouls, you're probably not coming back. And that is what it is. But everybody's going to get shots, and trust me, because this series is over. I'm not pulling nobody's leg. I ain't fucking around. Y'all better get y'all Heat in 5 shirt because this series is over tomorrow.
You know,
you're gonna need.
Go ahead.
Huh?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're gonna need Duncan against Philly. That series is over too. Regardless of what happens.
Too. I think Boston's
a
series that
but
he's
I didn't want to
sneaky
get too
be up.
far ahead. I didn't want to get that far ahead.
I think Milwaukee's the series actually that if he is gonna have a breakout series, I think it'd be against the Bucks.
Right.
Because of the way that they play defense.
Right. Well, you're gonna need him. You're gonna need him. Even if he's not hitting, he's gonna draw a defender. He's gonna draw 2 defenders. Like, you need him to be active, and you need him to get out of his head, because once he gets those early fouls, he mentally takes himself out of the game, and then Spo has to physically remove him from the game. So he's not done. You need him. That's just how it works. I mean, we did sit here and do a whole hour, and yet you have not praised Maxwell. I don't understand, like, how I didn't get any Max praise in this.
Well, I haven't even done PJ praise because there's been so much shit. Because I actually just came across a video on the timeline of PJ just putting Trey under the hoop. Which
you didn't see that? Oh, that was
it's
beautiful.
just like there's so much going right for them. I mean, PJ has just been. I mean, we talked about the PJ at center lineups, but just the fact that he's posting. I mean, listen, he's just bullying that guy. Hawks not sending any help. Part of that is Miami doing a good job, and I've harped about this all year.
They're spacing.
They do a great job of clearing the sides. They run an empty side set. You know, Jimmy's man wants to stay with him, and even if guys kind of gravitate off shooters, the play develops too quickly, right? Because like once PJ posts up, you know, you're just following. If your guy is Max or your guy's Tyler, right, or any of these dudes that can shoot the ball well, you know, your first instinct is, okay, I'm not going to leave them. And then once you kind of take a step or two to go guard them, and you turn around and you're like, oh, fuck. And it's Trae Young on PJ. The second you realize PJ's like taking his dribble and you're not going to make it, right? So you're and then the only guy you can really help off of is Jimmy. And I don't know if you, especially because he had a 10 rebound game last night, I don't know if you want to take a body off of Jimmy. So shout out to PJ, just playing great. Maxwell,
Yeah.
just solid, man. Just solid overall game. Doing what he needs to do. He's not like Duncan in the way that Duncan needs stuff around him. He's truly, I don't need a play called for me. I just vibe. Max is fucking vibes, dog. Duncan,
He just floats. He just floats around the court and is just like, the one thing I do, hit or miss. Max is gonna shoot that damn ball. He'll miss 4 in a row and think that next one is going in. Like he is.
But he actually believes it, unlike Duncan, who may just shoot like please. When Duncan is having those nights and he's like shooting every time he catches the ball, it's more like a please go in. Max is like, you know what it is? Max is also like, Max is a person that you vacation with, doesn't have an itinerary, doesn't have a plan. Just like, what are we doing today? Duncan has that shit planned out. Duncan has it on a fucking Excel Google sheet. Prints out handouts. All that shit. Marco says, yo, G, see you in Miami this weekend. Marco, if you want to get a drink, dinner, you let me know. I make time for you. I love Marco. Shout out to Marco over at 5 Reasons. That's a true homie. So you let me know, and we will totally go hang out. Lunch, dinner, drink, coffee, whatever you want. DM me. Let's close the show with Bam.
Yep.
Because I thought he played well yesterday. I know that fans were giving him shit, and I don't think they should. When you're coming off of COVID, I know of people, Tiff, that have been asymptomatic of COVID and then have like problems walking up the stairs for like 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
It's not just because like you didn't get sick doesn't mean that like it's not affecting you. And I think the way that I think, unless you're one of those fucking weirdos that think COVID's not real, it's a thing that affects people, and it affects everybody differently. And if he doesn't look right physically, because we're not, one thing is an aggression thing. One thing is like, why is John Collins springing free on defense? Right? So it's stuff like that you're just like, that's weird. It's not I'm pump faking 4 times and taking a weird jumper. It's there were moments where you're just like, that's not who he is. On top of that, he has a quad injury that they listed in game 2. Those 2 things combined might lead to some subpar nights. I thought yesterday he got it going, had a couple offensive rebounds, was screening more. And I think also like Bam's the guy that needs to get going and pick and roll without Kyle. It's difficult.
Right.
Was able to kind of get that going. 14 and 8, 6 for 11 shooting. Really good. I think that 1 turnover, by the way, which I think is a big number, especially because of how much he holds the ball at the elbow and how much passing he does. I think that fans are too hard on him as well. And I think that as the series has gone on, he's looked better and better.
I forgot. The funniest thing is I forgot that he had COVID. I literally because he didn't get quote unquote sick. He was out and then he rejoined right as the playoffs begin. So I literally forgot he had COVID. It's just like, it's funny because, early on I'm like, oh, come on, let's get Bam into it. Let's get him going. Let's get the flow. But it's also like, like I said earlier, once the team is rolling, then you can't just stop and start force feeding the ball to people. Everybody needs to just play within whatever's happening. And I think that's what happened yesterday with Bam. He got an offensive rebound, he got a putback, he got a lob. So he started to be a little bit more active and get himself into the game. But if Jimmy's cooking, don't disrupt the groove because you feel like, oh, I got to get Bam involved. No, Bam gets in the car wherever he can find a seat.
Exactly. Absolutely. And when they're at their best, Bam shotgun on the bus. Jimmy's driving, Bam shotgun, helping with the map.
What is this, the 90s?
Well, now it's a Google map. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, where do I, what's my exit? What does Google say? Is there a Starbucks nearby? We've all done that on a road trip. There's always some point where you're driving, you're like, can somebody please find like coffee or some shit, Well, what we have? A little snack, a little coffee. I'm being slandered on the timeline for won't cross county lines. No, I won't cross county line. I won't. I'm sorry. I may love you guys, but I'm not crossing multiple counties to go see you. I'm sorry. I just draw the line. I've never heard the end of it from Crab. You know, I didn't want to go to fucking Palm Beach to an Applebee's one day, and I'm the bad guy, Tiff. I want you to drive.
The fact that he wanted you to go to an Applebee's.
I should have drawn the
first
line at
problem.
Applebee's, but in reality, as you sip from your Flanagan's
Crapplebee's.
cup, could have gone to a damn Flanny's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so glad you have that Miami decision. I was laughing earlier because I just saw Kenny just tweet out, "What's goes through this man's mind? Seth is not a real name." That's it. There's nothing else. Just that.
He might not be a real player tonight. Like, we don't know.
I don't even know
what's the score over there.
what
What's
that
happening
means.
over there?
I don't even give a shit about that game. I care about the Raptors and Sixers. And
Are they playing right now?
they're playing right now. Raptors are up by 4 in the first quarter. They've doubled and beat on every possession. I don't give a shit about the Nets. Why am I caring about a bad team? Like, I'm done caring about these bad teams that have names on them. I'm just done, Tiff.
I just like to laugh.
I like to laugh too, but I want to laugh at the Sixers. I want to laugh. I want to punch up.
You,
I want to laugh
I'm-
at. I want to
listen.
laugh at. I'm out here laughing at a 7 seed. Well, want
I
to laugh
tell
at the
you what.
4 seed.
if Philly drops this game tonight,
Boy,
if they drop this game tonight, it's gonna be some furniture moving in that locker room.
Tiff, if they drop tonight and they got to go back to Toronto without their boy, because it's stop. You know the can't. This dude, whatever. Thibault can't come in the country. That that Toronto's tough crowd. That's a tough place to play. That's gonna be some shit. And then if the Raptors win that game and force Game 7, Tiff,
Listen,
and we
I'm
have the
gonna tell you,
3-1. Tiff, do you think that team? What personnel on that team has ever responded to adversity well?
exactly.
Other than
That's
the
why I
one
said,
fucking Ubuntu year.
if they drop this tonight, I'm gonna tell you, when I used to play soccer, our coach always said, "Don't give hope to the hopeless."
Nope.
So if they drop tonight, that's a sprinkle of hope.
Do you know what good teams do, Tiff? They show you why dreams are just dreams.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's why we dropped that game 3, just to give them a little taste of what might happen, and then stomp the dog shit out of them yesterday, just to say, "Oh no, we were just teasing. We were just bullshitting." No, it's not happening.
Do you feel like
That's
the
what-
playoffs?
that's what you do.
I want to ask Chat this. Chat and Tiff, do you guys feel like the playoffs have started?
Honestly, no.
I-
I
it's
think
weird.
next round will be like that's gonna be the test for us. Next round, I think we're gonna be hype. I think we're gonna get that feeling of like this is happening, this could happen. But right now, it's kind of like you're just skipping along.
The trash talk has certainly been there from the fan bases. Trust me, we have receipts. We have
Yes.
many receipts from Hawks Twitter.
Mm.
But look out for
Hangover
that.
time tomorrow night after the
Listen,
game.
Boy, all those dudes. That one fat guy who was saying that one Atlanta guy who was saying, are there even 3 good players on this roster? And then he's just tweeting out, "Fuck Trae Young." Don't think I don't watch your timeline, bro. I'm getting material. Brass and I are on that shit. That Hawks fan TV, you motherfuckers. We listen to that Spaces.
Oh, yeah.
I heard you guys. Kevin fucking Knox. Don't think we don't listen.
I didn't even know Kevin Knox was like.
I didn't even know who Kevin
not
Knox
in New York.
was.
He played for the Knicks.
Exactly. Thought when you're depending on a former Nick, you're fucked.
I mean, listen, the best player in the series, Trae Young, is not having a fun time right now. Ooh, they're pushing me. Ooh, I can't dribble the ball. Ooh, I'm getting fouled. Ooh, shut the fuck up.
What? This has been the playoffs of complainers, man.
Yes.
And
Everybody's
between
crying.
Embiid and Trae Young, Embiid complaining about the officials, being Embiid and playing with Harden is like the most egregious lack of self-awareness I think I have ever seen in my life.
Yo, who's that movie? They're John Cusack and Angelica Houston.
What movie? I don't
What's
know.
that movie? The Grifters. That's those two.
You gotta make movie posters for this shit, man. The Grifters, the fucking what was that? What was the Hawks one today? Trae training day. Shout out to Denzel. Fucking legend.
Shout out to Denzel.
Shout out to Denzel.
What did he say? Tell that boy cut his hair.
Listen, as much as I love Denzel walk Will Smith off the ledge from beating Chris Rock's ass. I don't want him to walk the Heat players from beating the Hawks' ass.
Nah,
we gotta stay the course.
Listen, while he was talking, they didn't hear shit he was saying, and the only thing they was hearing was King Kong. Ain't got nothing, because that's all I was hearing when I was watching him, and I could just see the fire in Jimmy, just like yes.
Denzel's
That's
so
what they
fucking
need.
cool, man.
Yeah.
Denzel's fucking cool.
I mean, I guess he broke up with the Lakers.
Wouldn't you? Listen, I think most of us have been with abusive exes, and I think when we're out, we realize, what was I doing? Waiting for Kendrick Nunn all season, thinking Trevor Ariza's fourth stint with your team, this was going to be the difference maker. Counting on Anthony Davis to have a healthy stretch of basketball.
Lakers waiting on the Dark Knight Returns.
I saw how that movie ends. They on vacation at the end, kind of like the Lakers season. Tell me that. Your fans are hilarious. Oh my god! So we will reconvene tomorrow for the Weird Alf pregame show. If you're listening on the pod, that'll be hopefully you'll listen to this tomorrow. We're live on twitch.tv/Miami Heat Beat. If you don't watch our pregame coverage, listen, I think it's a lot of fun. Me, Frankie, Kenny, and whoever wants to come in our little circus tent, we have a good time. We break down the game. I'm not going to say that we're right a lot. We're kind of right a lot. We laugh. We have a good time. We have fun imaging. We're adding to the repertoire. We still cannot find Weird Alf, but we're working on it. And we have a good time. And then also we have hangover time after every game. Thank you, chat, saying I make a dope pregame. I don't know. Kenny and Frankie carry me, and the imaging is funny and the keys dangling. I love the keys dangling. Tiff, are you in on the keys dangling?
Yes,
It's
love
polarizing.
That. I love sound. I love listening to the sound of a janitor walk by.
Deadman is his own janitor too.
Yes.
He has a lot to do at the shop. So check out all our offerings here. Tiff, the host of Mixed Bag.
Yep. We'll be back soon.
We'll be back soon. Siobhan Beslow, Queen, host of Needle to the Groove. Stay tuned for when the next episode of that's coming out. Our extended breakdown show. Obviously, Hangover Time, as I said earlier. Join us tomorrow. If they close out that series, there's a lot of fun stuff planned. So check us out there and all of that good stuff. We're going to change up the way we're doing the watch parties with playback. Talked to Brian about it today. I think we're going to try to gear it more toward hate watching, because I think we all just want to watch the Heat in a more fun environment. We're all trying to watch the Heat with our friends and family and shit. And I think we all kind of realize that maybe we should tonight would have been fun to do, Sixers, Raptors, or Boston Nets. So we're going to kind of change up the way we do the playbacks for the remainder of the playoffs, so that we can all focus on the Heat, IRL, and then we just laugh at those other dudes online. So stay tuned for when the next one of those is planned. And thank you guys so much for joining us. Tiff, where can people follow you? I think we got to give out our Twitter handles more.
Oh, all right. At Tiffany Meeks, the number 2, the number 3. That's me.
Illinois Zone. Me at GNavas103. And peace out, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for WAP and Hot.